The dining room of Bissimo held the kind of silence that felt expensive, as if every whisper cost a fortune. Crystal glasses shimmered in the amber glow, silverware aligned too perfectly, linen so crisp it might have been ironed by ghosts. But a child's wrenching sob tore through the hushed tones, the soft background music, and the distracted chatter, a sound so raw it seemed to echo off the marble pillars. Grace Mitchell, exhausted from her double shift, stood near the back with trembling hands clutching a tray of wine. It was against every learned instinct to look directly at the table in the far corner, the table reserved for power incarnate. Gabriel Russo sat there, the man whose cold command kept half the city in his shadow. In his arms, a small boy clung desperately to his tailored suit, crying as if the world had ended. The restaurant staff exchanged anxious glances in the kitchen, muttering, "Leave him be. No one approaches Russo." But Grace did not look away. She saw the tremor in Gabriel's hand and pain, not just the boy's, but his own. Power, the kind that could break cities, was helpless against a child's grief. As Marco, the head server, reached out to stop her, Grace slipped past him. She approached, knelt slowly beside the sobbing boy, ignoring the bodyguard's hard stare. Gabriel raised his hand without turning. "Let her," he said, voice quiet and heavy. Grace met the boy's tear-streaked face and whispered, "It's okay, I hear you. You're safe." The child's crying faltered. For the first time, someone had made space for pain instead of trying to silence it. As the tears faded, Grace caught Gabriel's gaze, haunted, desperate, lost. The restaurant exhaled. Chairs shifted. Someone whispered a prayer. Without realizing it, Grace set a story in motion that would alter every life in that room. Grace could not sleep that night. Back in her modest apartment, she sat on a threadbare couch, hands still warm from holding the little boy. The memory of his grief pressed on her heart. Her roommate, Christina, arrived from her own night shift. "You look like you saw a ghost." "Worse," Grace muttered. "A man who makes ghosts." Christina's fingers danced over her phone, searching Gabriel Russo's name. Headlines appeared, mentions of violence, power, whispered criminal ties. "You walked up to him?" "Grace, do you know who he is?" Grace's response was quiet and still. "I only know he was hurting, and his son was drowning." Christina, wary but awed, warned, "Men like him don't forget what touches their heart." At dawn, Grace's phone buzzed. The number was unfamiliar. A husky, sleep-deprived voice said, "I knew you'd be awake." Gabriel Russo. Silence hung between them, fraught with everything unsaid. "Luca, my son, keeps asking for the woman at the restaurant. He won't let anyone else hold him. Come help him." Grace hesitated. She had no power, no wealth, only compassion, but sometimes that was enough to move mountains. "I'll help, but I'm not yours to command. You're not a possession. You're someone my son trusts. I protect what I need, not threaten it." A deal was struck. 3 days a week, her independence intact, her safety respected. "My driver will pick you up at 9. Luca likes to play outside." Before Grace could refuse, the call ended. By 9, a black SUV waited for her outside. The line between ordinary and dangerous was already blurring. Grace arrived at a mansion bigger than most dreams, guarded by men who moved like silent shadows. Gabriel waited at the entrance, not in his suit, but in dark shirt sleeves, looking exhausted, human. Screams echoed from inside. Luca again, heartbroken. Grace did not flinch. She followed the sound into a cold living room littered with expensive, useless toys. Luca stood in the center, clutching a blue blanket, voice hoarse with grief. House manager Rosa hovered nervously, twisting her hands. "He's been like this since dawn. Every day, doctors say it's grief. But how much can a child bear?" Gabriel stood uncomfortably close, unsure how to heal his own son. Grace sat nearby, not forcing silence, only holding space for the boy's pain. Eventually, Luca collapsed in her arms, sobs fading into hiccups and then sleep. Gabriel's breath shuddered. "How did you do that? Children don't cry for nothing." They cry because they can't carry something alone, Grace answered. Mafia boss, waitress, child. They sat together on the floor. Rosa, teary-eyed, whispered, "You've brought something back. Something we thought died with his mother." Gabriel, usually all command, uttered a single word, "Stay." It was not a threat, but a plea. Grace nodded, accepting the invitation into a world she was not sure she could survive. Morning sunlight warmed the mansion's cold walls. Grace played blocks with Luca, who giggled as towers tumbled. The sound, so rare, so pure, made Rosa cry quietly at the kitchen door. Gabriel hovered, his power softened. He tried to build a block tower himself, failing with deliberate clumsiness to entertain Luca, earning earnest giggles. Gabriel smiled. Not the newsworthy smirk, but something real. Through the day, Grace leaned into her new role. Each gentle touch, each kind word, drew Gabriel's attention. Not lust. Not possession. Hope. As sunset painted the marble halls, security reported a disturbance at the fence. Fear and threat returned instantly. Gabriel's face hardened, command restored. "Stay with him," he told Grace firmly. Guards murmured in earpieces. The world outside crept closer. Grace read stories to Luca in a quiet room, controlling her own fear. She knew only one thing. This little boy's safety meant more to her than her own. Darkness fell. The mansion, fortress-like, braced for danger. Gabriel's men had found tracks near the south fence. A silent war unfolded in moving shadows and tightened routines. Gabriel confessed privately that danger followed anyone close to him. "Anyone. You're a target because I need you here." Grace accepted the risk. Love is louder than fear today. That night, the mansion was breached. Alarms sounded. Lights flickered off. Gabriel ordered Rosa and Luca to the safe room. Luca clung to Grace, terrified. "Gracie, stay." Promising safety she could barely guarantee, Grace sent Luca with Rosa. Gabriel took her hand. "Stay behind me. Shout my name if anyone touches you." Together, they moved through corridors cut by moonlight and threat. A hooded intruder stood in the rain-soaked archway, laughing coldly. "You took something from us. Now we take back what's ours." Weapons raised. Tension thickened. The intruder revealed Luca's mother's bracelet, a stolen token twisting grief into threat. He was her brother, wild-eyed, burning with vengeance. Gabriel faced him. "You will not touch my son." The intruder, voice crackling, spat grief at Gabriel. "She was all I had. She died because of you." Gabriel did not defend himself. He only confessed his love and guilt. The brother signaled. More men emerged. Gabriel shielded Grace and sent her to the safe room as violence erupted. In the hidden room, Grace cradled Luca as the conflict raged outside. Rosa prepared for defense, but Grace knew the only shield was her strength. The door shuddered. Luca's fear was palpable. From outside came the intruder's voice, cold and determined. "Give me the child, and no one has to die." Grace, whispering through the wood, answered. "Your sister chose Gabriel. She gave her heart freely." Pain cracked in the brother's reply. She was forced, trapped. Grace saw the truth. Love was rarely simple, pain ran deep, but grief was killing everyone. Luca needed his father. Gabriel was breaking, too. Gabriel did not kill her. Grief did. "You are letting it kill you, too." Suddenly, Gabriel's controlled voice came through. "Open the door."
She did.
He entered shaken but sure, 2 guards dragging the intruder away. Gabriel confessed, "I cannot lose anyone else." Grace returned unwavering faith. "You did not lose me, and you will not lose your son." With the intruder gone, the mansion settled into uneasy quiet. Gabriel, exhausted, watched Grace and Luca together, the only people he could not lose. The estate, guarded and inward, became less home and more fortress. Night after night, Grace rocked Luca to sleep, whispering safe stories by golden light. Gabriel lingered in doorways, haunted by grief, but gradually drawn to Grace's steady presence. One evening, Gabriel led Grace to his study. Alone by firelight, he confessed his regrets, blind spots, guilt, failures. Everything inside me breaks when they come for Luca. I would burn cities to keep him safe. Grace offered partnership. You don't need to carry this alone. You have us. We stand with you. For the first time, Gabriel let his defenses crack, leaning into Grace's touch. Their first kiss was not desperate, but steady, anchor and promise forged in the ruins of pain. Outside the mansion, the intruder was not gone. Betrayal, seated within Gabriel's ranks, freed him from confinement. In the rainy dark, he vowed revenge. This is not finished. A storm crashed over the city as Gabriel braced for fresh danger. The household went into lockdown, guards checking every gate, every corner for new threats. Grace refused to be afraid, carrying Luca everywhere, honoring fear but moving forward. Gabriel strategized with loyal guards, maps spread across a great hall, measuring risk and trust. I never learned how to protect what I love without destroying everything, he admitted. Grace broke new ground. Let me stand beside you. Don't be a shield alone. Rain lashed the windows. Betrayal struck at the door. The intruder stood soaked and weaponless, collapsed at the threshold. I do not know how to live with this grief. Gabriel, voice softened by pain, offered. Then I will show you how. Grace, guided by empathy, stepped forward. She placed her hand on the grieving brother's shoulder, not for forgiveness, but acknowledgement. Rosa and Luca joined them, the child, once always crying, now watched calm. No more crying, Luca whispered with hope. Over time, the mansion's cold edges warmed. Laughter returned. Meals were shared. New memories layered over scars. Gabriel let violence fade from his life, building businesses rooted in family, not fear. He did not erase his past, but transformed it, turning power into safety for those he loved. Section 10, Resolution. Making home out of ruins. Word count 350. Years passed. Luca grew strong, laughter echoing in halls once haunted. Gabriel asked Grace to marry him in the blooming garden, where Luca had first laughed again. No grand speeches, only the quiet vow of two souls forged in hardship. Grace accepted, their marriage weaving together past sorrow and hope for the future. One evening, Grace watched Luca play in the lantern-lit garden. Fireflies drifted, soft as dreams. Gabriel's arms wrapped around her waist, voice steady, warm. We made something beautiful out of ruins. Grace leaned in. We didn't escape the storm. We learned to stand in the rain. Together with Luca, their family lived and healed. The Mafia boss's world transformed by the compassion of a waitress who dared break the silence and hold space for grief.